Karibushu bakarabu korarabushi la karabu bashana. Rokoribushu kurigara buru bakashagara. Mara karibushu rubushi karagera garabusha. Rebara karabushi kirigara buru bakashagara.
Good evening, everybody. We are live from before and after I say I do show. We are excited to come to you this evening. I'm your host, Pauline Gikang'ah, always a joy, and it's a new month. So happy new month from us here from before and after I say I do show. And yes, we are starting a new series. I'm just checking that we are technology. Let me see that we are getting to you right now. As we go on, there's a little bit of delay, but we'll be here shortly. Let me check on our page that we are getting you, that we are with you. Yes, we are here. Yes, so it's a joy to come to you, like I said, and being a new month, it is being a new month. Being a new month, it's a new series, and the series is on forgiveness. And this month we focus on after I say I do, and all about forgiveness in marriage. And my guests are here already with me, and I'm sure most of you, please invite your friends. This is a worthwhile session that we're gonna have here. As we all know, not just forgiveness in marriage, but in many other things is difficult. But let me, before I continue on with what is forgiveness, let me invite my guests to introduce themselves. Karibuni.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for watching. This is Pastor Paul Muhami. I'm here to speak to you, and I'm excited to be here with you. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Hi, everyone. My name
Yes, Veronica.
is Pastor Veronicah, or our testimony.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Oh yeah, we are back. We are gonna pray for good network this evening because we need it. Did we get stuck again? Did we get stuck again? Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Oh yeah, we're back. I'm trying all the connections that I can. I'm wondering, it could be from my side. So yes, so thank you, Pastor Paul and Veronica, for introducing yourselves. I know we'll get to know a little more about yourselves. So we are talking about forgiveness in marriage. I think, let me first say what forgiveness is. It's actually freeing someone from a penalty. You know, they deserve this, but you deserve to free them, or freeing them or giving them pardon for a mistake. And one of the things about forgiveness is that it does not mean the wrong was right. It doesn't make the wrong right. It doesn't say that, oh, you did so well, and so it's okay, I'm okay with you. But it's just, that is why somebody actually said recently that it is divine. Forgiveness is divine. It's not about us. We cannot forget, we cannot believe it. But the amazing thing is that the healing that it brings, and I'm sure we are diving into that shortly. And one of the things I like about forgiveness is that it's unconditional. It's not, if you do this, I will forgive you. Now it becomes, you get stuck if it becomes conditional, because many times we say, if my spouse does this, that's the only time I'm able to forgive them. But it's very unconditional. So we are going to dive to it because we want to get it from even a practical point of view. So probably, maybe let me ask my guests, Pastor Paul and Veronica, was it always easy to say from the beginning? Let's start from when you got married, to say sorry, to forgive one another. How was it in your early years? Maybe Pastor Paul starts for us.
Wow, that's thank you for throwing me into the deep end first. It has obviously not been very easy, especially from the man's perspective. Men have an overdose of ego. We want things to work in a certain way. And we don't want to explain things. So there was an issue. There were many issues, of course, when we started, because we are coming from different backgrounds. So we didn't always agree on what needed to be done. But over time, we learned how the other person operates, and then we are able to align. So from the word go, it was hard, but as we moved along, we learned each other. Let me say that.
All right. So Veronica, was it always easy to forgive your husband in the earlier years?
I would say that there are some instances that it was easy. There are those simple things that you just forgive. Others you just overlook. But also there are others that you feel that this one it's too much. It's beyond me, and you feel that you are hurt deep down. And such are things that it is difficult to forgive, and it was difficult to forgive.
All right. So it's actually, of course, depended. Earlier today I was asking people, what are those, difficult things? And I'm sure you saw on my page, which are so hard to forgive. And you're wondering, how do you tell me to forgive such a thing? And possibly, so that we dive into your journey, maybe take us through your journey of maybe an experience or experiences that you went through that maybe even somebody will identify with you who is listening, that was so difficult to forgive your spouse. Maybe Veronica, do you want to go? Do you want to start us off your journey?
Okay.
Yes.
For me, I would say that in our early years, there are instances that I would forgive my husband, and more because I valued my marriage. But there are some instances that I found it very difficult. As much as I valued my marriage, difficult became a bit difficult. Forgiving became a bit difficult. And at some point, I would feel the best option for me was to leave. So for instance, he's a marketer. And you find that with his personality, the environment pushed him to have many relationships, and especially with girls. And there are some instances I would feel this relationship or friendship was going beyond the boundaries, and I would feel that those relationships were affecting our marriage. However, in most cases, we would talk, and within no time, they would disappear and they would die a natural death. So in such instances, it was difficult to forgive and to move on.
Yes.
However, there was one relationship that took too long that really affected me and affected this marriage. And that is what I would say was very, very difficult for me to forgive. And I would say the reason why maybe this relationship started is that just before we got married, my husband was transferred to a town far from Nairobi. And where he went, it was a different tribe. So he found himself in a strange town with a different tribe. But there was one lady whom he used to work with who was a Kikuyu. And I believe, according to what you tell me, that should give him good company. So our life continued, we wedded, but at some point I realized that interest of coming home had gone down. Initially he would come every week. But at some point, I think after our wedding, about 2 years later, he started coming after 3 weeks. And in fact, even when he comes, you can tell this person is not hungry. You know, there's a way you can tell this man has been fed somewhere.
So hungry in the stomach, or his conjugal rights were met elsewhere, you mean?
I would say everything, but generally, holistically.
Yes.
But more specifically, conjugal rights. So of course I would ask. I started investigating, and I found one number that was very common in his call logs, and also SMSs that I started noticing that this was a relationship, and it was not just a relationship. And since he was far from me, I could just take what he was saying, that she's just a colleague. It continued. I could tell that there was something. It's not just a friend. And a few years later, he came back to Nairobi, and I knew now, at least I have my husband back. It is time for us to love each other now, to learn each other. We had never stayed together since we had done our wedding. But even after he came back to Nairobi, the relationship continued. I would ask him, what is happening with this lady? By then I had known her name. By then I had known her other numbers. I think she had created other numbers. I had done investigation. I used to take his phone. I would check, I would trace every call logs and every messages that he had written and not deleted. So honestly, he could tell me, no, she's a friend, she's a colleague, there's nothing between us, but I could tell there was something. So in the course of our lives and in course of our marriage, I got an SMS, one SMS that really confirmed me it was not just a friendship. In fact, it was like a second marriage. And I decided to talk to the lady.
Yes.
I called her without him noticing or knowing, and we met.
So by that time, maybe let me, Pastor Paul is a bit quiet. Let me interject a bit. By this time, when you'd come home and Veronica would ask you, you know, is this thing still on? You'd say maybe no. How are you feeling? Were you guilty about that, having another relationship?
I would say yes, I was feeling guilty, but I think because of the kind of even friendship that I was in, because I think even my friends were involved in such relationships, it felt normal. You know, they say there's safety in numbers. So when all your friends are in similar relationships, you feel it's nothing out of the ordinary. But I used to feel that this is not the right thing to do. But obviously, at some point, you'll feel that now, how do I even pull out of this? I think I'm in too deep.
So you had gone into very deep. It was now a relationship.
Yeah, because you see now we had started even before we got married. We moved on, we got married. The lady was still in the picture. I was still seeing her every week because that's where I used to work, and I used to work with her. So over time now it was like we couldn't stop. Because we are seeing each other every other time. Yes. And even after I moved out of that town and I was transferred to another town, we still continued communicating. I think it was hard to let go.
Wow, okay.
But the guilt was still there, but I didn't know exactly how to pull out of it. Yes.
So Veronica, so for you, how you knew it continued was through the phone. So you always looked to check his phone.
Yes, when he come, of course, he'd come when he's drunk, and he'll come late. So when he sleeps, I wake up. I go to his phone. Fortunately or unfortunately, it didn't have a password. So I would check his SMSs. I would check his call log. I would check everything that one can check in a phone. And in fact, at some point, he had given me his password for his email. So I would also check his emails, every communication that they had. I would know, but he would not know where I get this information from.
How was that making you feel? The more you kept getting information.
First, I would console myself that it is God who wants me to know. But it used to hurt me. After reading some messages, seeing that maybe they were together, they got some involvement or something, they were having fun when I am mourning in the house, it would really hurt me more.
Yes.
Yes. And maybe after I'm hurt, I would be violent, or I would be, what would I say? Very arrogant, very rude to him, because I already know what he's been doing, I don't want him to touch me. I don't want him to say anything. It was bad. It was a bad thing.
So you called this lady, that's where we were. You called this lady and told her that you wanted to meet. Yes.
Yes. And she told me if I want to meet her, I should accompany myself with someone else. So I called my friend. I think she's watching. She's called Carol. We went with her, and we were able to talk. We talked, and one thing that came out of our meeting was that this lady confirmed that yes, they have been in a relationship. I think by then it was about 6 years or something like that. It was for many years, but she said that she's not interested with my husband. She said she's not interested with marriage. And she told me, if possible, I should continue with my marriage. In fact, one thing she said that really kept me wondering, she told me, I have been telling Paul that he has an angel for a wife. So I wondered, what is this? I think it's the evil that they had done, and I was still there. Maybe she was expecting me to leave and had not left, maybe. So I left there consoling myself that, okay, she's not interested, so maybe it will stop. She said that it is going to end. Of course, she said that it is my husband who was following her. So we agreed that she's going to terminate the relationship. But she also told me, tell your husband to stop following me. So in the evening, we met with my husband and we discussed, and he was very remorseful, and he apologized, and he told me, I'm going to stop. And so now of course, I was very hurt. I didn't know what to do.
Yes. And
in the process of trying to understand what is really happening, whether I should pack and go, whether I decided to talk to my best mate, our best man. Yeah, our best man. I talked to our best man, and I realized he was in the same situation, so he could not help at all. In fact, I think he was even worse than my husband.
Yes.
So I reached out to, but by then I had realized that these people had not stopped their relationship. So I reached out to his father, that is my father-in-law. He came and talked to us. He talked to him in our house, and he promised to stop. And he was very apologetic.
Yes.
He was very apologetic.
Getting hot in here.
Of something. Yes.
Yes.
So, and even after that discussion, I'm telling you, they never stopped. So I reached a point, and I knew now I have tried, I had prayed, I had fasted, spoken to my friend to talk to him. I had reached out to my parents. I had done everything that I could.
And the children are still growing by this time.
And the children are still growing. And also by then our son was in school, so I could not start moving, packing and going, you know. I had to take time. I had to think, where do I you know, all those things. And also I would say the grace of God was still upon this marriage, that the hand of God was still keeping us intact.
Yes.
So one time, I think I had seen a very bad SMS that confirmed, I think they had enjoyed something. So I decided now it is too much. I told God, God, I have been praying, I have been fasting, I have reached out to other people to talk to my husband, and nothing is happening. Now, I'm going to fight for myself. I told God, sasa niachie.
Yes.
Now leave it to me, because you've not been doing anything here. You know?
It seems
that, yes, it seems well umeshindwa, so let me do it now. Believe you me, Pauline, I went to her office. I don't know what I was going to tell her, but I think I would say I was thinking our meeting would be it would be as fruitful as our previous meeting. And maybe she would tell me the same words that she had told me, that she's not interested, you know?
Yes.
I guess that is what I was thinking. As much I was telling God, now I'll fight for myself. But it is because I had reached the end. I felt that all that I could do, I had done.
Yes.
So when I went to our office, it's an open office, so we went somewhere at the corner. I don't know what I said. I can't remember what I said, but I can tell you I was so abused. Pauline, I was so abused. I was so humiliated.
Wow.
The only thing I remember more is she told me, Veronica, you are married. I'm going to advise you one advice. I'm going to give you one advice. Keep the paper, I'll keep the man.
Wow. You keep the papers, that is the certificate.
Keep the certificate, I'm going to keep the man. And I knew here now it is, I went back to my office and I'm telling you, I think I went crying.
Wow.
I went crying. I didn't know what to do. I was so hurt. It was bad. So to make the matter worse, that evening, my husband calls me. And what? They are together. I think he used, yes, I think he used her phone, or he used his phone to give me her so that I could speak to her. But the intention was to make me know that they are together.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And now that confirmed that really the man had gone. All I had is the certificate for a marriage.
Yes.
So I now started thinking, how do I move on?
How was that, Pastor Paul? How was that experience for you?
I think I remember the incident, because after she left the place of that other lady, the other lady called me. Then she gave me the story. Your wife came and then she abused me, blah 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 blah. And that time we were having a drink. So then I think I got worked up, and then I decided to call her and tell her, don't be going to her place of work. Stay at your place of work. Let everyone stay in their place of work. Why are you going to disturb other people where they are working? Yes.
Wow.
I think in a way I was defending this other one more than this, my wife.
You are defending this one more than your wife. Wow. That was how was that, Veronica?
It was bad. I'm telling you, I would go talking to myself. I think I got mad in a way. Nilikuwa naenda nikijiongelesha, I would say in simpler language.
Yes.
Because the man I had trusted my heart, the man I loved, the man I thought would spend our life together happily thereafter. To immediately after our wedding, we had so much. And remember, she's not the only one, eh? There were other small ones, rabbits in between the elephants. There were the rabbits. So for me, those ones I would.
This one was the one that took longest.
Yes.
So you continued, yes.
So now I knew I'm all alone. I knew now the man has gone, and I accepted that reality that the man has gone. So I started staying and believing and accepting the reality that he's gone. And it's like I now started not expecting anything from him as a husband, I would say. And during that time, we had started, we were going to JCC Eastlands. So I decided to go and talk to my spiritual parents, that is Pastor Dan and Pastor Charlotte. Because for me, I knew this marriage was a mistake at that point. But I also didn't want to leave without being sure that that is exactly what I need to do. Number one, I didn't want to raise my kids as a single parent. I hated that. So I still believed maybe it can be salvaged, but also I needed to hear God. I needed to know that it is within the will of God for me to leave him because he had gone.
So, and because you'd still go home, Pastor Paul, how was the reaction for both of you? How did you engage, both of you?
It was chaotic because, of course, she was emotionally hurt and drained. So every time we connected, the first thing she would do was to complain, talking about this lady, talking about this. So I think, and at this time, I had lost my job. So my ego was down there. Then home, there's no peace. Out there, there's no peace. So I think, in a way, subconsciously, I was looking for peace. I was looking for a validation. So that's why I think I used to find myself going to this other lady. So every time we had a confrontation at home, she would tell me, siwende kwa ule mwingine. And I would gladly jump and start going because now I have the green light to go.
Yet was it coming from a happy person? Was it coming, of course, how was that, Veronica? It was, what was that?
You know, it's out of bitterness. And it's after maybe I had seen he didn't value me, you know? So really, what do you want from me? I'm nothing. While we are married, you decided to go that other side. So I believe that other side is better than where I am. So just go there. That's
Did you ever feel threatened by that lady?
Of course. In fact, one of the reasons why I was feeling much threatened is because she didn't have a baby. So she was a young girl. She was maybe someone of my age, I'm thinking. She was beautiful. She was learned. She was working. So I couldn't understand how can such a beautiful person follow a married man, surely. Why can they get their man? And in fact, I remember I asked her, why do you want to be the thief? Why can't you be the one who is being stolen, you know? Why do you want to be the thief? Why do you want to be stealing other men? Why other ladies' husband? But I think, I don't understand, but of course I was feeling threatened.
Threatened, okay. So you went to your pastor to tell them about what you're going through.
So I was going to confirm that really this marriage is not of God. I had gone with the list of the things why I felt that way. And I wanted my pastor to pray and confirm that it is not within the will of God. And of course, he told me I would give him, I think 2 weeks to pray. He also told me to pray. But there's one thing I can remember, he was very categorical in in his advice.
Yes.
First, he told me, Veronica, number one, I want you to look for happiness from within.
Wow.
He told me, Veronica, I want you to start investing in your world, create your own world, because you have shifted your world to your husband. And your husband has now, his world is in another person. Could you try to concentrate on yourself? Could you make yourself happy? Could you focus with your children so that even as we pray, you can be able to pray well? Because I remember when I went to see Pastor Dan, I think the whole time I was crying. I was crying, and of course he could see this is someone who is emotionally drained. So I think one of the things that he said is that try to focus on yourself. Look for something you can do for yourself.
Yes.
But let us pray, then come after 2 weeks. So I did that. I waited for the 2 weeks, and I knew I'm going to get the green light so that I can pack and go.
And go, yes.
And go, yes. And I would say that Pastor said, you know?
Yes.
So of course, when I went.
Yes, go ahead, yes.
So when I went back, he said it is of God. And we are going to believe God that your marriage is going to be restored.
Wow.
But one thing he told,
Pastor was joking.
I felt he was joking, but I said anyway, because I valued my marriage, I agreed with him.
Wow.
I agree, you know, I just said, okay, fine, let's see. But I remember he connected me with Pastor Charlotte, and Pastor Charlotte was very keen in telling me, Veronica, I want you to love your husband unto the Lord. When he come in the house, welcome him, serve him, make him comfortable, not because you want him to love you, but do it because it's a command from God.
Wow.
It was not easy. It was not easy. So I would say they started working with me, and in the process, I was able to start focusing on myself. I started creating my own fund. Like I started reaching out to my friends. I would go and visit my friend just to make sure my idle time, I am not thinking of where is my husband. I would maybe spend more time cooking, making our children happy. You know, I started refocusing myself, and I totally started forgetting my husband in a way.
So this time was Pastor Paul still coming home? You'd still come home. So what was the change, Pastor Paul, for you? Did you realize any change?
No, I didn't realize any change, but I think over time, I started now losing interest in a way. But I would say now, because I'm spiritual, I know the word of God. I know that the enemy was losing the grip on me. Because these things, I doubt whether I was the real person who was doing them. So I think as my wife was praying for me, as my papa was praying for me, I think the enemy now started losing the grip on me. So I came back to my senses in a way, and I started now just coming home early and just disengaging me from the other lady.
Yes.
Yeah, Pauline, I can add, during that time, my husband never slept out.
Wow.
He would rather come at 3, but not the whole night, the way people, the way men disappear, are full today, tomorrow. He never did that. In fact, I would ask myself, when do these people meet, you know? Because constantly he would come between 10 and 11, 10 and 11. He would come drunk, yes. But those extremes that you see with men, he was not like that. And sometimes on Sunday, because he used to be in the house most of the time, you'd find that lady would not call on Saturday or Sunday. But between Monday and Friday, that's when, you know.
That's when they would call. So they knew that was family time.
Yes.
Okay. So now you are taught to love unto the Lord, and you continue focusing more on yourself. Yes.
Yes. So at this time, I'm now born again. Previously, I was not born again. I'm now born again. And I remember before even maybe I met my pastor, I remember maybe the kind of prayer I was praying. I had prayed all sorts of prayer. I had prayed for this lady to die. You know, I had prayed all type, forgiveness, you know, separate them, kill her, remove her, all those kind of prayer. But I remember as I interacted with my spiritual parents, I was able to learn to pray for the grace to forgive, you know, the grace to love my husband, the grace to overlook mistake. So I in a way, I was now being spiritually molded to the right direction.
So at this time you're praying, not because he has changed, but no, this is for you.
I'm doing it for me and to the Lord. In fact, my Pastor Charlotte would tell me, Veronica, you have to do it unto the Lord. It is a command from God. I would tell her, how do I do it, Mom? And she would tell you, love him. God will give you the grace. I know God will give you the grace. Try. Go try. And supporting me spiritually, there was that hand that would help me in a way. And I remember, Pauline, at some point when I was in prayer, at that duration, I had not known how to hear God. But I remember one day I was in prayer, I was reporting my husband to God that I think there was something that he had not done. And I had a voice that told me, leave Paul to me.
Wow.
When I was praying, I had knelt next to our bed. I was crying. I woke up. I repeated those words, leave Paul to me. Leave Paul to me. I could not believe that is a voice that I had heard. Wow. And I internalized those words and I wondered, what is that? Who is that? Who spoke? And of course, now there's a way you cannot miss God.
Yes.
I knew that was God who had spoken, but I didn't know what that meant also. I didn't know when he had told me to leave him, he literally meant that I surrender him to God.
Wow.
So after time had passed on, I'm now working with my spiritual parents. God opened a way for me. Still, they're still together. Not that they have separated. I could go to the phone once in a while and I would see they're still talking and everything else. But God created a way for me so that I can be separated with my husband. He gave me an opportunity to go to Isiolo. Initially, I thought, is it the right thing to do? Now, do I leave my husband with this lady? How do I go Isiolo? I don't know, 6 hours drive. I'm leaving him with the children, with all these stories.
Yes.
And in my heart, I knew I needed to go. I had a confirmation in the spirit that, yes, it is of God.
Wow.
And I decided to go. So I went and I started working. While I was there, I knew, number one, I had to allow myself to heal. And I knew if I start focusing on where is he now, who is he with, I would never work. And I would not change anything because I am now, you know, how many kilometers away?
Yes.
I just decided now to focus on myself, to focus on my spiritual work. I go to work. In the evening, maybe I'm reading the Bible. I'm just reflecting on myself and maybe trying to understand what am I supposed to do. You know, do I separate? All those things were still coming. And I had told God when I went to Isiolo that I want to go to Isiolo for 1 year only. And in the process, I went to Isiolo in February. And in September, my dad passed on.
Mm-hmm.
So when my dad passed on, when we were in the process of
you're in Isiolo, would you come home to visit? Would you come during the weekends?
I would come every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, I would find when the children are very happy. So I started appreciating my husband, that he had been very good. He had played good role as a mother and a father. I would come, they would tell me, oh, dad did this, dad did this, oh, we are happy, oh, thank you. You know, when are you going back to Isiolo? I wondered, what is this now? Am I, you know?
Yes.
So because of that feedback, I would appreciate him. I would tell, hey, thank you so much. I started now focusing on this one thing that he was doing well. And I decided not to even touch his phone because it would hurt me, and I'm very far, you know? So, yes. And also there was no time even to look at the phone. I come, maybe I've traveled on Friday, Saturday is trying to catch up, Sunday I'm back.
Yes.
So really there was no time to spy, to do this, all those things. So when my dad passed on, we were mourning, and by the way, let me mention something. During this time when my spiritual parents were working with me, Pastor Dan would tell me, how is it, for example, on Sunday would ask you, how is your husband? He would ask me, how is your husband? I would tell him he's fine, you know, maybe he came drunk, so he couldn't come to church. I would just say he's fine. Then he would tell me, do you know your husband is a man of God?
Wow.
That time, maybe, you know, we had a fight, that time, all those things. In my heart, I would say, okay, how, who? Not even being a man of God, can he get born again? Yes. Leave alone being a man of God, you know?
Yes, because that time he wasn't, yes.
He wasn't born again. And he kept on telling me, every Sunday he would ask, how is he doing? How is he now? How is, you know, he's a man of God. Okay, I would say yes. Okay, thank you. You know, ile ya where Maliza.
Yes.
Maliza tuende. Yes.
Sawa tu. Yes. So yes. My dad had passed on, and in one of those days that we were meeting for the arrangement, for burial arrangement, our mom, Pastor Charlotte, said that they wanted to come and visit us. And I remember he said no, you know, wasikuje. He was already drunk.
I was planning to have a drink.
He was already drunk, and I think he wanted to go and have more drink. So I told him, now, how do I tell them no? And they are saying they want to come. He said, you tell them not to come. Let them not come. In fact, I'm going.
Wow.
So I called mom and asked her whether she could come the following day. And she said, no, we want to come today. Fortunately or unfortunately, there was a blackout. I told her, you know, there are no lights here. Why don't you come tomorrow? And she said, we are coming. Veronicah, we are coming. So
blackout
they came.
Or no blackout?
Yes. I think God had spoken to them.
Yes.
It was in the line of God. So they came, they prayed with us, we talked, and in the process of talking, Pastor Dan said, I feel in my spirit, Paul, this is the time for you to give your life to Jesus. And of course, he was those ones. First, he confirmed, yes, I've been feeling also like that of late, but whenever you call people in church, I don't feel like, I don't know, you know, that fear of a man, I don't want to come. But then how do I do it? You know, I still drink, all those things. And Pastor Dan was able to talk to him, and he agreed. He agreed, and he got born again. That night he got born again.
Yes.
So after he got born again, I'm telling you, Pauline, that was in September. In October, I was brought back to Nairobi.
Wow.
Not because I had requested for that transfer, but the organization decided that it is closing Isiolo office, and all of us were being transferred back to Nairobi.
Wow.
And now when I'm being reunited, I am now being reunited with my family. And now it's a new man. He's born again. Of course, during that time, he's still trying to understand what really happened, you know.
Yeah.
He had been taught to drink 2 beers for the pastor. So,
Yeah.
so you take 2 beers, but most of the things now, I would say I had now stopped focusing on any other thing, and we were focusing on spiritual growth.
Wow, wow. So God took you away. You went
Yes.
away on job transfer just for you to be able to work on yourself and everything.
Yes.
And then Pastor Paul was left. At what point did you now talk about this relationship? When were you able to leave this relationship, Pastor Paul? This other relationship?
I think around the same time when by the time he was going to Isiolo, we had already discontinued the relationship. I think we had a misunderstanding and something happened. And I just felt in my heart that I didn't want to continue with this because I was hurting my wife. I didn't see us going anywhere. I didn't know why we had even started it. So I decided now, I think it's a high time I stopped. So even when she tried to call me, or even when I had the urge to call, I stood my ground and said, no, I will not call.
Wow.
I had now started reflecting on my life. I realized that I was going nowhere. I decided I'm going to reduce my drinking. And instead, I decided to go back to school, even in classes, so that by the time I'm coming out of work, I would go to class and take 2 hours in class and learn new stuff and go back home when I'm tired. So in a way, subconsciously, I was changing my life. But I think it is because the Lord had said that leave Paul to me. So the Lord was acting on me. He was working on me. And I felt very encouraged when she came and told me, did you know that Pastor Dan has said you're a man of God?
Wow.
So I used to tell her, "Unaona sasa, you see?
Did you feel
God
like,
knows me by name."
did you feel like, wow, she has affirmed me? What did you feel? Was that?
I felt so nice. But of course, my esteem was down there because of other issues. So I felt, but this God, if I'm a man of God, how come I'm going through all these issues? So I'm a man of God, then the Lord has said, leave Paul to me. So I was totally confused.
Yes.
By this time, I had stopped going to church. And even when I went to church, I was distracted because I have a hangover. I'm confused. I was just there, lost. I think the enemy was trying to destroy my life. The enemy must have seen the call upon my life.
Yeah.
And he was doing everything possible because I remember just before I got born again, for about a couple of Sundays, every time the pastor would say, who wants to give their life to Christ? I would feel today is the day. But then there's a part of me saying, nah, where you will go later. Where are you in a hurry to go? Where are you going? Sunday, you can go on Sunday or any other Sunday. I thought, yes, it's time to get born again, yes, and experience this God that people keep talking about. But I felt, no, there's not yet. Yeah. So when I heard that Pastor Dan was coming to my house, I now knew I'm cornered. And the enemy knew that this is the time that I'm going to lose Paul. So I'm going to continue distracting him. I'll tell him to say no to the pastor so that he can go and drink. But when Pastor Dan said, we are coming, of course, I had no choice.
Yes, yes.
So when he said, I feel in my heart that today is the day you gave your life to Christ, I told him, actually, for the last 2-3 weeks, I've been feeling I'm ready, but I didn't have the courage to step out. So thank you very much. It was not hard for me.
Amazing, amazing.
So yes.
With all those years, Veronica, because now we are getting to maybe the lessons that you share with people listening and maybe somebody going through it. I mean, and this is not just happening for people who don't know the Lord. It's happening even in the church, people going through. And like I said, unfaithfulness ranks as the first of the things that couples find it so difficult to forgive one another on. And what would you say are the lessons you learned through that journey? I'm even saying that you started fighting for yourself. What did you learn, Veronica? And as we get to Pastor also.
I think one of the things that is very key for me is when I took it up upon myself. That is the last thing that anyone can do, to fight for yourself. Even the Bible says that the battle does not belong to you. The battle belongs to God. Even vengeance does not belong to us. Vengeance belongs to God. So that is one of the lessons that I can tell my fellow wives, other ladies, that never fight for yourself. Two, I would say that one thing, as much as at some point I thought of fighting for myself, I used to pray. I used to be very prayerful. I have prayed, I have cried, I have fasted. You cannot lose your prayer life. I think prayer is one of the key. And even if you feel that God is not hearing, keep praying and don't fight for yourself. The other thing I would say is that work with a man of God or someone that you feel would really give you objective advice. You know, when I'm wrong, for example, my pastor would tell me, no, Veronica, you cannot do this. Veronica, you need to change. You cannot be telling your husband to go back, you know? So working with someone who can tell you and they're giving you advice based on the word of God is very, very key. And also they pray with you, they pray for you. I think because it took the hand of God for his heart to be softened. Yes, maybe you can add.
And maybe fighting for yourself. You talked about how you found out it was through the phone and the emails and going to hand. You've said it rightly, not fighting for yourself, but the urge is there. What do you do, Virginia, Veronica?
The urge to fight for yourself
and to look at the phone.
It is by the grace of God. Let me tell you, it is not easy even to forgive. Opting not to feel the pain, you know, it is already there. It takes time for that pain to disappear. Even for a wound, it takes time for it not to have pain. Even if it is healed, when you press it, you still feel some pain. So it takes the hand of God. The best place to hide yourself, it is in God. I don't know if someone is not born again. I think getting born again is one of the things that especially when you are going through these issues, being in God is a place that you cannot avoid.
Yes. Maybe say something about you know, finding yourself, finding your happy place as a person. You said that at times we put our happiness on our spouses, and so we get. What would you say about somebody finding their happy place?
You know, for example, for me, I would maybe after work, I would want to know where he is so that we can go out. You know, mostly we would go out. Initially, I would say we would go out, and I had left my friends. I didn't have friends because he had given me full company. My life revolved around him. I loved him. I didn't have an option B. It was just him and me, and that is what I wanted things to continue. But when I got a wake-up call, and now even my pastor confirmed that I really need to refocus. And true happiness is never found outside. True happiness is never found is never found in your spouse. True happiness is from within. So I started doing things that make me happy. I would go out. I just go to Chicken Inn. I buy I buy myself something. I am there alone. I enjoy my chicken. I go home. Sometimes I'll go with my children. I'll just create something that would really remove my mind from him to myself. I also went back to school. So that free time, in fact, idle time is poisonous. When you know you're hurting, look for something, engage your mind, especially add value to yourself, because I realized also when I started adding value to myself, I also got a better job. My income increased. Things started moving. As much as his life was going down, mine was going up. And I think this was intentional, because even in the office, I started now putting more time and energy in my work and not to think about him.
About that, all right.
Yes.
So Pastor Paul, of course, now we are to you. Of course, even with all this, was there that thing that you also needed to forgive your wife on?
I would say initially, because of the misunderstanding, I felt that she was too tough on me. I felt that she was not understanding me, and that's why I felt that maybe going out is where I'm getting more comfort on the outside. Because outside I'm not being told to be accountable, but at home there's all this nagging and too much noise and too much confusion. Now everybody is being told that I'm in a relationship, so I felt I'm not welcome at home. Let me just go out there and have fun. And also my, the kind of friends that I had at that time were of that same type. So we would give stories to each other of our escapades. It was fun. But when I was alone, away from the group, I would feel, I don't think that's the right kind of group. And I remember there was a man who came from somewhere, and he came to a group where we were seated, and he came straight to me. And then he told me, Paul, you are a very good man. And the Lord says that you need to stop seeing the men that you were with yesterday. Wow. That's the first encounter I had here. You mean God knows me? How come he passed all these people and came straight to me? Wow. So that's why I felt the Lord is confirming that I need to stop seeing these guys. So that's when I went back to school, and now the friends now started disconnecting from me slowly. And that's when now I found myself, like the Bible says, he came back to his senses.
Yes.
So as a man who is involved in such, you must come back to yourself. You must ask yourself, why are you doing this?
Yes.
Why? What is the motivation? What is the solution to this? Because you'll move from one lady to the next, to the next, to the next, but that will not solve the problem.
Yes.
The Lord says, I'll replace your heart of stone with the heart of flesh. So the only person who can change our lives is Jesus.
Yes.
All of us have sinned, me and my wife, and even you, Pauline. So it is not saying it is Paul who sinned or me who sinned or who sinned. Just come together and say, now, what is the solution to this issue? How can we get together?
Yes.
We got married because we were in love. How can we get back to that love?
It
the
is every family. I like that. Yes.
Yes.
For a believer, a family with believers, and even those who are believers and know God and are going through this, that they come together. Yes, I like.
So the Lord says, come, we reason together. It doesn't matter which sin you have done. There's no small sin or big sin. A sin is a sin in the eyes of God. So God says, come, we reason together. So call your spouse, sit down, address the issues. Because when we have problems in the marriage, that's when the enemy now comes and introduces funny friends, funny habits, funny girlfriends, so that he can take you away from where your blessing is. So once I started reading the Bible, I learned that he who gets a wife gets a good thing and receives a blessing. So I think once I came back and cleaved back to my wife, the Lord now has started commanding the blessing that he promised in the Bible.
Wow.
So it is not the wife to change the husband or the husband to change the wife. No. Involve the Lord who made that man or woman. Wow. Yes.
Powerful. I want to ask you something, and
Yes,
that is that of course comes a lot even to counseling rooms, or even to many places where people are seeking help, that I do this because my wife has done this, or I'm acting this way because my husband does this. Should it be that way, or everybody should be accountable to God but not blame the other?
I think we should all be accountable to God, because two wrongs will not make it right. Because if you do something because the other person has done, it means once they found out what you have done, then they are justified to continue doing what they had done.
Yes.
So it will be a spiral. So instead of coming together, you start now drifting apart. That's exactly what the enemy wants to do, so that you can divorce.
Yes.
You can get confused. He can destroy the two of you separately.
Yes.
So you must understand that the battle is not ours.
Wow.
The same God who brought us together will fight our battle, but we have to allow him to come into the scene.
Wow, that is profound. That is profound. Two wrongs cannot make a right, because
Yes.
many times I as a husband, a husband can justify that I'm doing this because of my wife. She's
Yes.
not, or the wife will say I'm doing this because but you say two wrongs, so it is everybody to work on their part, and that is profound. Okay,
Let me say this, Pauline. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Let me say this: if I have a girlfriend, and then my wife justifies by having a boyfriend, then she has no moral authority to accuse me of having a girlfriend, because she already has. So we are now the same.
Yes.
So if I have the girlfriend or she has a boyfriend, it's now the one who is wronged to hold on to their heart. Say, okay, he's doing this, but I'll not do it. Yes. I'll keep my peace, and I pray that this thing will end. Yes, and I thank grace, because that is exactly what she did, and that is why we are here. The enemy would not have wanted us to be sitting here today.
Wow.
But it was in the plan of God that we are here to speak to couples, and we have very many people who normally come to us to ask us for advice. And I think that what we went through was for a purpose in God's plan.
Amazing.
Yes.
Do you feel like, Veronica, people lose hope too soon? Like, it gets too tough. You said that you got to a point you are talking to yourself for some months, because what is this? Do you feel like someone can give up too soon? Allow me to use those terms, but or do we at times take a longer route to get to? What would you say about that?
I think in most of the cases, we are not patient. Everyone wants results. You want, when you pray, you get your answers.
Yes.
And I remember one time I was in prayer and God told me, be patient, I'm coming.
Wow.
And even when he said that, it took about 1 year before my husband got born again. That is just before I went to Isiolo.
Yes.
So I think as a wife, you just have to have this fruit of the Spirit, long suffering, is a fruit of the Spirit. We need to have that energy to hold on without giving up. Even when you're not seeing results of what you want, hang on there. Trust God that one day this thing will turn around. So patience is very, very key.
And Veronica, as you say that, I just want to ask something that came, and it was a question that, were you fearing? I mean, you knew your husband was unfaithful, Veronica.
Yes.
There's disease. How was that like? Because someone will feel, I'm not gonna stay in this marriage. I might die in it. I might get sick.
Of course, yes, I was fearing. And one thing is that we would go for tests. We often, in fact, I would tell him at some point, I would say, no, until you go for a test, that is when we will do that.
Okay.
I used to fear, yes. But at some point, Pauline, I had a covenant with God. And this covenant, I think, is what kept me going and kept me in this marriage, because I told God, number one, if I go for a test and find that I'm not positive, personally, as Veronica, I will never, ever, ever go out.
Wow.
So I told God, and you, God, never allow me to get that disease, because it is clear my husband is sleeping out.
Yes.
And most probably unprotected sex. I told God, oh God, please do not allow me to get that disease. I prayed, God, protect him. But for me, for me, even if he gets, I told God, even if he gets, I am trusting you that for me, I'll not get. And I think that is what I kept telling God. Even when I knew maybe he was out and he might have done that, and now he want to do it with me. After that, I would tell God, God, you know, my covenant with you, I will never go out. And one of the things that really kept me in my marriage is if I say that I want to separate, it means I'll go look for someone else. And that I'll have broken my covenant with God.
With the covenant you had said, yes.
Yes,
wow.
But it's true. Yes, I used to fear. I think this is for another kind of faith. It's for someone who has matured in faith. But it is God, you know, it is not because we are good or someone is very careful that they don't have this and that. It is by the grace of God.
Wonderful. Wow, we have run out of time. We are actually past time. I'll just allow Pastor Paul to say something to a gentleman. I mean, I can't end this show without you speaking to a gentleman. I know Veronica spoke to ladies. So what would you tell a gentleman who is unfaithful to their marriage?
I would want to approach it from the spiritual aspect. That we were all created in the image of God and his likeness. God created man to have one wife. But when the enemy sees that God has put you together with your wife, the enemy will do everything to introduce you to other women. You must guard your heart and decide that, okay, fine, I may have fallen into sin, but this will not continue, because you must get to a point where you come back to your senses. Because you are destroying your marriage, which God has put together. And God has said, let no man put what I've put together asunder. So when you start having other relationships outside your marriage, you're already in contravention of the laws of God. You're already in sin. And wisdom dictates that you need to repent. You need to stop that relationship. You can have all manner of justification, but at the end of the day, it is not right in the eyes of God. So you're going to destroy your marriage. You may think this other lady is better than your wife, but she will come, but because you have the spirit of adultery, you will still go out. So you will keep changing women all over the place. So just stay where God has established you. You may have fallen into sin. I know men have fallen into sin, but that's not the end of the world. I want you to come back to your senses, call yourself for a meeting and ask yourself, what exactly is this that I'm getting outside that I cannot get from my wife? You must get to a point where you say, okay, fine, I've wronged, but I want to right the wrongs. I'm going to come back to my wife. I'm going to tell her exactly what I feel about her and why I go outside. And let us now come to an agreement of what we can do to make our relationship better. That is exactly what we did a few years ago. And we've been working together. We are still work in progress. We are not perfect. But some of the things that used to bother us before, they are no brainers anymore. They're not any longer. So now I want to say this. Whoever has fallen short of the glory of God, who is everybody, if it's the man or the woman, please come back to your senses. Come back to the wife of your youth. Have a sitting with her, tell her, okay, I've been unfaithful. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Let the healing start from there. And I also want to talk to the ladies. Let me talk to also the ladies. When the man has fallen, that is not the time to make the noise all over the night, the whole night and the whole day. Everything he does is wrong. You are pushing him away. Just pretend that he has done the right things. Appreciate what he does right. Appreciate him when he does the right things. Focus on what he's doing right. Ignore the other things. So once he feels that he's appreciated, because a man thrives on appreciation and respect. So if you think nagging him is a solution, he'll have now 3 girlfriends outside instead of 1. So now start bringing him home. talk to him nicely, love him, appreciate him, take care of him, he'll come back to his senses and he's going to come back to you. And you're going to build your marriage together and God will command a blessing.
Amazing, amazing. It wouldn't have been said better. It's been a joy. I mean, we are past time, but we had to conclude the way we've concluded it. And our viewers, we are happy that you are with us, those who are with us live and those who are going to watch this testimony or journey, you know, later, even after this. We want to pray that it will bring healing. I mean, we know many families are hurting. There's this issue of unfaithfulness, and you rightly said that marriage was authored by God, and anything God authors, the devil does not like. And so we pray for healing in marriages, and it was our joy. Thank you, Pastor Paul and Veronica, for being our guests this evening. And I'm your host, Pauline Gikang'ah, and I look forward to being with you next Friday, same time at 7:30, as we continue with the focus on forgiveness in marriage with another guest who will be telling you in the course of the week. So keep it here at Before and After I Say I Do page for us to give you the details of the following times. God bless you from all of us here on studio. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. God bless you too.
Thank you.